Hello everyone and welcome to another video review from 3dgamingman.com. I'm Rodney Reynolds and today I'm having a look at the Raidmax RX-700AT Titanium Monster power supply. Now this unit has a number of things going for it. First of all, it's not going to break the bank, but it is super efficient because it is in fact titanium certified, comes with Japanese capacitors, has a pretty quiet 135mm fan, and it's semi-modular. The box is very informative. It does have pictures of the product on it, plus lots of features and specifications about it. Inside they include the user's manual, the power supply, which is in this plastic bag. And since it is semi-modular, there are some leads, of course, hardwired into the power supply. And in this pouch, they include the power cord, a bag which has 8 screws actually. There's 4 thumb screws and 4 regular screws, as well as some Velcro and plastic cable ties, and the modular leads. Now Raidmax offers all kinds of power supplies, but as far as I know, this is the only one currently that is titanium certified, and this is essentially a super efficient power supply with a modular design that won't break the bank, so it should appeal to a lot of people. Now let's talk wattage, and to understand this you need to know what rails are. Rails are basically well-regulated transformers which convert domestic current into the voltages that your computer system can use, and there are essentially 2 different rails, the 3.3/5 volt rail and the 12 volt rail. Now in this particular case, the approximate maximum peak output of the 3.3/5 volt rail is 100 watts and the 12 volt is 696 watts, which is essentially how the wattage of this power supply is determined. Now the 3.3/5 volt rail is responsible for the motherboard, memory, PCI cards, and so on, while the 12 volt rail is responsible for the hard drives, optical drives, fans, CPU, video cards, etc. It's also important to know the peak amps on each rail, and in this particular case, both the 3.3 volt and 5 volt rails are 20 amps each, and it has a single plus 12 volt rail, and that's 58 amps. Now in all my power supply video reviews, I go through the things that you should remember when selecting one. If you've watched my video reviews before on power supplies, you might find this section redundant and boring. If you want to skip it, you are certainly welcome, although there is some information that's specific to this particular model that I'll be covering. Now first is wattage. You need to determine how much wattage you are actually going to require for the hardware that you will be installing. Now generally speaking, a medium to high-end gaming rig would require a 500 to 700 watt power supply, so this one would be perfect for that. For a hardcore system, select a power supply that's around 800 watts. If, however, you are building an extreme gaming rig with a top-of-the-line multiple video card setup with lots of other hardware, select a power supply that's 1000 watts or greater. Second, it should be at or above 80% efficiency, and that's not going to be a problem for this power supply since it is titanium certified. It is 94% efficient at typical load. Third, it should meet the latest ATX and other current standards, environmental directives over voltage, under voltage, and other protections, and this power supply meets all current standards. Fourth, choose a power supply that has APFC. APFC, or active power factor correction, assists the power supply in being more efficient and therefore stable under load. APFC basically reduces total harmonics, corrects input voltage, and it allows for full input voltage range. Thankfully, this power supply has APFC. Fifth, there are 3 main certifications: 80+, NVIDIA SLI, and AMD Crossfire. Now, many of today's high-end power supplies will meet one or more of these certifications, and by the way, the ones that don't meet these certifications, it doesn't mean that they can't do NVIDIA SLI and AMD Crossfire. It just means that they haven't been certified. I just want to throw that out there. This power supply meets, of course, the 80+ titanium certification. Sixth, look for a power supply that uses Japanese capacitors because generally speaking, it ensures a more reliable product than a power supply with low-grade capacitors. Now, what are low-grade capacitors? Well, they would be Chinese and sometimes Taiwanese capacitors. You know, they're low to medium grade, so go with Japanese capacitors, and this power supply does come with Japanese capacitors. Now finally, you want to get a power supply, of course, that has enough leads for your particular setup. And I would definitely consider one that's completely modular, or like this one, semi-modular, because it does reduce the cable mess inside of the case. Okay, so let's have a closer look. They include a recessed fan grill. The fan itself is a 135mm dual ball bearing fan that's pretty darn quiet. They have lots of ventilation holes, so the power supply will remain cool in just about any environment. Here's where the power cord gets connected, and there's a power switch. That's good, because some power supplies these days do not come with one. And at the back of the power supply is where the modular leads would get connected. Now, they have some hardwired leads on this power supply. That's not really a big deal per se, and as you can see, they are all sleeved, and the job is, quite nice on this. So the ones that are hardwired include a 24-pin motherboard lead. There's another 4 8-pin motherboard lead, and 2 6 8-pin PCI Express leads. Oh, and have a look at the sleeving job on the other modular leads. Quite nice. Finally, have a listen to the 135mm fan. Raidmax has done a fantastic job with this power supply all around. There's no question about it. I mean, it looks sharp. The power is good. It is semi-modular. The fan is really quiet, unless, of course, you're going above 80%, and then it starts to get a little louder, but that's typical of a lot of power supplies. And this does come with a 135mm fan, so in essence, it should be a little quieter than some of the power supplies that come with 120mm fans. It has plenty of ventilation on it. So all around, you can't lose with this power supply. If you're in the market for a titanium power supply, maybe you want to save on energy costs and just have your power supply super efficient. And, if you're in that 700 watt range, then this just might be for you. Overall, there's no doubt about it. This is a kick-ass product. Until next time, take care. Well, that's it, but I hope you enjoyed the review. And if you think this and other videos that I produce are great, please like them, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also, your comments are very welcome. And if you have any questions, let me know.